Hi, my name's Rob Cross. I'm Program Manager Biodiversity for Kāpiti Coast District Council. Today I'm walking through the sand dunes to the beach, from the car park at the south end of Tuteri Street, Waikanai Beach. This is also the north side of Waikanai Estuary, one of the Wellington region's biodiversity hotspots that attracts birdwatchers from around the world because of the range of native birds you can see here. On a good day, you can spot 30 different species unique to New Zealand because the estuary provides rich habitat for wetland, shore and seabirds in quite a small area. My focus today is on the sand dunes, however, because Kāpiti is lucky enough to have extensive sand dune systems flanking most of its beaches, and they're a little underrated compared to other natural places. We tend to pass through them on the way to and from the beach without a second thought, and without seeing them for what they really are. Even if the dunes are admired as a scenic backdrop to our beaches, they're seldom seen for what they really are. Highly evolved, dynamic, but fragile natural wonders that play a vital role not only in protecting what's behind them, but in creating habitat for some amazing native plants and animals. First thing to appreciate about sand dunes, particularly when you're walking through them, is how fragile they are. Though they bear the brunt of wind and waves, they're big softies really, made of this fine light sand that's easily washed away or blown away by the wind. What gives dunes their form, their strength and their resilience is the vegetation that grows on them. Without this, the dunes become mobile sand menaces, as European settlers found in the late 19th century when fire, introduced pests and livestock, stripped the dunes of vegetation, and they began to blow inland, covering farms and burying buildings, including a church at Waikanai Beach. In response to this national environmental disaster, dubbed the Great Sand Menace, the government sponsored the importation and mass planting of introduced marram grass and lupin. This did the trick in terms of stabilising the dunes, but created new sorts of dunes which weren't as resilient as the old ones, and lacked the range of native plants and animals that used to live on them, some of which, sadly, were gone with the wind. But that's history. Now we're all about restoring and protecting the native plants that grow on our sand dunes, which is why I'm sticking to the marked public track that goes through the dunes to the beach. We now know that native plants are really tough when it comes to waves and weather, but really soft when it comes to being trampled or driven on. They're simply not adapted to what people can do to them, which is why we need to minimise damage by staying on the marked public tracks as much as possible. Look out for the blue posts, there's plenty of them. The track goes through an area being restored by the Waikanai Estuary Care Group with the support of Kāpiti Coast District Council. Just a few years ago, this area was nothing but kikuyu grass and introduced marram. After a lot of hard work by Care Group volunteers and council staff, however, it's now dominated by local native sand dune species, such as this beautiful tohinu, the local harakeke or flax, which is flowering at the moment, and the golden sand sedge, wiwi. It's great to see the true local character of places like this being restored this way. With predator control also happening, there's a good chance that a wider range of native wildlife will be able to return and live here. By restoring the native sand-binding plant kōwhangatara, commonly known as Spinifex, we've literally changed the landscape here. A single kōwhangatara plant can trap 16 cubic metres of sand a year, and when the sand is washing or blowing in, kōwhangatara can build the dunes at an impressive rate. Before Ko Whangatara was planted here 10 years ago, the old marram dunes were eroding rapidly, and although the sand was still around, the exotic marram grass couldn't rebuild them. Not so Ko Whangatara, which in 10 short years has built 20 metres of new sand dunes, completely reshaping the northern entrance to Waikanae Estuary. Ko Whangatara builds lower, more rounded dunes than the introduced marram grass. So by replacing marram with Spinifex, or Ko Whangatara, we're not only replacing a key native plant species, we're also restoring the natural landscape character of our beaches. I've walked north to where storms in recent years have eroded the toe of the foredune into cliffs. This looks pretty scary, but it's actually perfectly normal. And as long as this Ko Whangatara at the front of the dunes, which has these specially adapted roots trailing over the front, when the sand washes back in again, the dunes can rebuild. Marram grass can't do this, which is why we put such an effort into restoring Ko Whangatara in recent years. Provided there's enough room for the sand dunes to move backwards and forwards as they always have, and provided Ko Whangatara is around to do what it does better than anything else, there's really no problem. The problems arise when development squeezes the sand dunes so they can't really move backwards and forwards. Sea walls and rock revetments can protect development, but they don't stop erosion, which continues in front of them, often at the expense of a walkable beach. That's yet another good reason to take care of our sand dunes. They're as important to sustaining our beaches as they are to protecting us from the damaging force of the sea. Walking through the dunes to the beach is as Kiwi as togs and jandals. The dunes themselves also hold special significance for local iwi, because around here the dunes are often where they lived before colonisation and where they sometimes fought and buried their dead. Protecting and restoring the dunes means preserving this heritage while giving the unique plants and animals that build and live in the dunes their place in the sun. The alternative? Well, like the song says, you don't know what you've got till it's gone.